had smokefish bite, like just a little thing to do.
Okay, if we could have everyone seated, it would be good. Right, councillors, we'll just ask Dean. Dean wishes to, sorry, we want Dean to make a welcome to Tawarana.
Kia ora mai no tātou katoa. Te mea tuatahi miha tu kia koe te koromatua, mi mai rā kia koe me te koromatua tūrua, me ngā tūrata kaunihira, me ngā Ngāti Manuhiri, me Ngāti Maru, e te tiomana o te tepu nei. Ka tuaki tēnei ponanga no Tāharo nei ki te miha tu hea tātou mata nei o taku whanaunga. E o te warana, o kautarata whānau o te Kawarawa maki ko tai mai nei o Wainganui a mātou. Ko tēnei te mihi whakatau ki a koe, kia o koutou. Nau mai haramai. Nau mai haramai ki te whakaronge ngā kōrero ka puta mai a te haora nei o koutou tūpuna whare. Ko tēnei te mihi nui ki a koutou katoa. Nō reira he kōrero iti tēnei, ko tēnei mai te ponanga nei, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai no tātou katoa. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you. Right, Graham and Paul, welcome. All right, Paul, please.
Kia ora. So this is the third of three reports which deal with property at 240A Bethells Beach, Tahinga. The first report, excuse me, was to the local board to get their support in terms of proposed revocation of the reserve status and also support for the possible transfer of this piece of land to Te Kawerau Maki. So the local board, when they spoke during the local board session, noted and certainly acknowledged the notice of motion that was passed in December of this year. We didn't reference it in this report because, of course, we have a formal decision of the local board which was the first of these three papers, and also acknowledge that the local board has previously passed two resolutions proposing to lease the land to Te Kawerau Maki. The second of the three reports was last week to the Environment and Community Committee, and that was recommending to the Minister of Conservation to revoke the reserve status on that land. And so then this third report deals with what to do with the property. This report, the preferred option is to transfer the land to Te Kawerau Maki. There have been issues that have been raised around the lease by the iwi group, in particular having certainty of tenure, which a lease doesn't give you. A lease also creates a number of problems if the iwi was looking to raise finance in order to finance the development of the marae and the papakainga, and iwi have also been very clear that a lease doesn't recognise their mana as well. So I will answer any questions in response to the report.
I'm happy to move the recommendations, Mr.
Yep.
Chair.
Okay, I'll second that. Questions? Councillor Lee.
This is honouring a commitment by the previous Waitakere City Council, but can we, I can't see any details of that. It seems that the commitment there was actually expressed by resolutions of the council, which did not actually include gifting the land. It certainly included supporting Kawerau Maki, and apparently 30,000 back in the 90s, but so we're not actually, this is not honouring a commitment by Waitakere City Council in giving the land. Am I right on that, or?
Through the Chair, as attachment A, there is a long chronology in terms of surrounding this land. So having reviewed the records on this, I guess what we can see is that there was a clear intent of the Waitakere City Council to support Te Kawerau Maki to develop an iwi at this particular site. and the nature of that support has changed over time. So initially it started off in terms of, as you identify, some funding in order to enable that purchase, and I think if you read through the records you can see that that was unsuccessful in securing the site. There was a range of negotiations that the Waitakere City Council engaged in, and then you can see that there was some clear decision making that happened within that council to move from providing financial support to actually purchasing the site. And then we can see in the chronology there are also some other discussions that took place. There's some clear resolutions where the site is mentioned in response to other aspects of decision making by Waitakere City Council. So that's what we can see from the records, and I think potentially there may be some councillors that were party to some discussions that I'm not fully aware of.
It seems to me from the record that Waitakere City Council did honour its commitment to support Kauroa Maki in providing a marae for its people. I'm not sure how many people the marae is to cater for, but it looks like the commitment was already honoured, but in recent years it seems that the provision of the land and the lease was unsatisfactory, and that Te Kauroa Maki wanted to actually own the land. That's slightly different from the commitment from Waitakere City, is it not?
Through the chair, I think the record shows that there was a clear commitment from Waitakere City Council for an outcome of there being a marae in Papakainga.
Yes, I agree with that. It's not necessarily gifting the land that the council purchased. Can I also ask you, through you, Mr. Chair, the last bullet point in 8, in 2018, the refreshed Auckland plan includes Māori identity and wellbeing outcome. The outcome directions and focus areas support investment in marae to be self-sustaining and prosperous. What does self-sustaining mean?
Through the chair, I would interpret that to mean that there was financially viable and sustainable over the long term.
So, after it's been gifted, it's financially sustainable and viable.
I believe that, as I said in my introduction through the chair, there has been some issues in terms of the lease side of it. It raises financial issues for the iwi in terms of their ability to raise finance. So I think that is the issue, that without this, there's a risk that they will remain, won't be financially sustainable in the long term.
See, what I'm concerned about is, Mr. Chairman, is the kind of escalation of expectations here. So Waitakere City at first gifted some money to support Kauroa Maki, and then that didn't work out, so it bought the land itself and made it available for Kauroa Maki, and that didn't work out. Now we are gifting the land. Is that the end of it, or will there be expectations for the council after gifting this land to make it self-sustaining? But obviously self-sustaining not for the council but for the recipients. Is that the end of the matter? Because we're not the Crown here. This is not a treaty settlement, is it?
Through the chair, this isn't a treaty settlement.
Not a treaty settlement, okay. It's a gift.
Any further questions? Doesn't appear to be. Councillor Watson.
I think, I was just looking through the timeline, and I just would appreciate a little more description around, or detail I should say, around the connection between I guess the Waitakere City Council development plans at Henderson Valley Road and Te Kauroa Maki. Was there some treaty claim, or was there what was the connection there? Because I see that appears a couple of times in this timeline.
Yeah, through the chair, I'm not sure I'm fully aware of all the detail around that.
Well, I'm. Is anyone able to help with that?
There was some transactions were taking place around that time. Essentially, there was a piece of land that was owned next to the railway line there by the Crown, and Te Kawerau-Maki, as part of its treaty settlement process, had that land set aside, or the Crown had set that land aside as a land bank, or part of a land bank, in anticipation of the settlement of the Te Kawerau-Maki's treaty claims. And that land was then acquired by Waitakere City Council as part of the development of the city centre, the civic centre. And so that was in all of these negotiations around the marae, Te Henga, and the development of that city centre, where the civic centre is currently located.
Okay, so I'm just trying to fit this into the sequence of the disposal of council civic centres that we've just passed recently. Is there a connection then between that recent activity and what we've got before us today?
There's no formal connection, that I can see, but definitely Waitakere City Council went through a negotiation with the Kawerau-Maki to attain that piece of land to allow that civic development area, or the development of that civic centre to take place. Without that, it would have been quite difficult to develop the land in the way it was. And so there is some residual about that around this arrangement, and or this gifting we're talking about, or transfer of land we're talking about to Te Kawerau-Maki.
Okay, thank you. Don't extend up to Orewa, Te Kawerau-Maki, do they? No? Too late.
Member Honig.
Yeah, just Graham, quick question for yourself, seeing we're talking about gifting. So it'd be fair to say that the residual land, Kawerau actually gifted it in good faith and goodwill to the council?
Their right to take up that piece of land in Henderson, I presume you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that they gave up that right, yes, in favour of Waitakere City Council.
And through the chair, the last bit, yeah, Kawerau-Maki do go to Orewa? Kia ora tātou.
You got any land in Senaway Road?
With a bunch of us.
Yes, they do have some customary rights in Stanaway Road.
Yeah.
Ngāti Manuhiri are proud to support them. Thank you very much.
Let's wait for that report. Councillor Lee.
Be quiet on it.
Yes, in terms of the self-sustaining and prosperous aspect of this marae, is it expected then that there will be some sort of Papakainga housing development which is expected to be commercially profitable? Is that how this is meant to work, or what?
Through the chair, the sustainability of marae is, not just economic. It's about the service to community and the availability of that service to community, including the tangata whenua of that marae. So all of the marae and Tāmaki Makaurau that are recognised, both Mātāwaka and Mana Whenua, have access to, or have the opportunity to apply for funding from council from various items that we have available, or tools we have available to assist that. But a lot of it is about seeding and developing those marae. Te Kawerau-Maki is the only iwi in Tāmaki that has not got a marae of its own. So we see this as a fairly key decision, I suppose, from that point of view. I'm sure the iwi do too. But essentially, if Kawerau-Maki was to be, qualify, if you like, for Papakainga type developments or for development of their marae, they would go through the same process as the other 19 Mana Whenua and other Mātāwaka marae around the city or around the region.
Except, of course, the other marae around the city, Mana Whenua marae, were not gifted. But in terms of investment in marae to be self-sustaining, does that, are we talking, and prosperous, are we talking about further money from the council, or are we talking about some sort of enterprise on the site which will be self-sustaining and prosperous? What is meant by this?
Self-sustaining and prosperous, that terminology is about us and as council supporting marae to be self-sustaining and prosperous, and it's part of our strategic intent of council to be of assistance in that. We are not the only ones in terms of council that will provide that similar support. There are other agencies that do that from central government and through other charitable trusts.
Okay, so we're talking here of not only gifting this land, and I'm not sure what the value, I can't see anything about the valuation here, but we're talking about gifting this land, and then there'll be further support. I see, 650,000. So $650,000 in the general valuation in 2017, but there'll be further grants and support after that. Is that what is envisaged by Prosperous?
You know, that'll be up to the iwi if they want to come back to council looking for assistance in that area. They will go through the same process as everybody else does, looking for support from council. So potentially yes, but you know, we have to wait till that's a decision they will make.
Just one more question. Is this land going to be given? We're guided by the Refresh Auckland plan, which hasn't been completely signed off yet, in regards to Māori identity. Is this going to be designated Māori land, or will it be general land?
Through the chair, so the proposed transfer is free simple. However, the memorandum of transfer would make it subject to the development of the land in accordance with its unitary plan status, which is special purpose Māori purpose zone.
Is it going to be general land or Māori land?
Through the chair, I think I said it was going to be fee simple transfer.
So it's general land?
Correct, with making it subject to the unitary plan status.
Has this got anything to do with discussions over the former Waitakere City Council building in Henderson, or opening and closing tracks in the Waitakere Ranges? Was this all tied up with that?
No.
I think the resolutions are quite clear what this is about. Paul, you know, comment on that?
I think, through the chair, I think Graham spoke to that in terms of this is a separate decision. I think it's been part of a broader discussion on a range of things in terms of the ongoing and enduring relationship with Te Kawerau Amaki.
Yep. Right, Member Taipuri.
Kia ora, Mr Chairman. Ngā mihi nui ki a koutou, ki a koe te warana, nau mai haere. Just so I get clear, is there anywhere in this report the word gift is used? Say again?
Through the chair, no, it talks about a transfer as fee simple.
Okay, so transfer of land, which will be by consent of this council by a decision, correct?
Correct.
The transfer of land based on agreements from legacy councils such as Waitakere City Council, correct?
Correct.
A gift.
Marae is to cater for the people, in particular Te Kawerau Amaki, but as we know, marae have visitors, manuhiri have people who utilise the marae, who learn about the culture of the marae and the lands around, so it'll be more than just Te Kawerau Amaki, won't it?
Correct. And the iwi has previously made it very clear that the land and their assets could be made available to the community when it wasn't being used by the marae, by the iwi.
Great. And as you pointed out earlier, like all other marae, Council has a cultural initiatives fund or development fund for both Papakainga and marae, which this marae would also be able to apply to. Correct?
That's correct.
Oh, so it's not a gift.
But that's the situation now.
This is my turn to ask questions, Mr Chairman.
Keep going, yeah.
Facing
No,
now.
Councillor Lee, you know,
It's not a gift.
call it, please.
So sustainability is not, like you say, just about the economics of it all. It's about what the people put into it and what, again, can foster from that, which might be housing for kaumātua, might be housing for others. But again, that's all part of a marae development, isn't it?
Correct.
It's a subdivision.
So it's not a gift.
Well, I won't ask any more because it's get sick of it being interrupted by Councillor Lee, so we'll just move on, thanks.
Member Taipuri, is there anything else you'd like to ask?
Not at this point.
Yep. Okay. Councillor Simpson.
Oh, thank you. In some respects, you've addressed my question, Member Taipuri, because I was just going to ask a wider question. So what do you see as the wider community benefit of this transfer long term with regards to, you know, it's obviously being transferred over, but, you know, just if you were someone who's not Māori, what would be the wider community benefit?
Through the chair, as I indicated before, when the marae wasn't being used, they have indicated they will make it available to the wider community. So in many respects, it maybe could be considered along the same lines as, say, we have some surf facilities in that sort of neighbourhood. So when the surf club's not using it, it becomes a community facility. So it would become an asset that the Bethel's Beach community would be able to benefit from, and certainly learn from and more about the iwi and their relationship with the land.
Thank you.
Right, councillors, there's no more questions and no more comments, so I have a mover and Councillor Hulse, I have a seconder and Member Taipuri. I will put that. All those in favour?
Well, I moved it so I could
Oh, sorry,
speak.
sorry, Councillor Hulse, sorry. We didn't have your name there, but of course you do have the right to reply. Yep.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr Chair. And I just want to take a moment to actually acknowledge our staff who've worked on this issue. And it's no secret that this has been a long, ongoing issue, and you'll see by the long history there. But Paul, Graham and the team have worked tirelessly over the last few months to really pull this together and to move this issue on. And for that, I want to personally thank you, as this has been a worry and a concern for a very long time. I want to acknowledge Te Wārana and Te Kawerau Amaki for their patience and forbearance in this issue. And I think today is a pretty special and important next step in the process. It's not the final step, but it is a really important next step, because this finally acknowledges the mana of the tribe by handing the land fee simple to Te Kawerau Amaki. The intention was always there with Waitakere to honour the fact that this is the heartland of Te Kawerau, and it brings them a step closer to returning to their heartland of Te Hinga, where that was where the tribe was based. And I think it's a really important day today that we take that next step. The relationship between Waitakere and Te Kawerau Amaki was a very warm and close relationship, and I make no apologies for that. And certainly the negotiations, discussions and agreements were made with a lot of trust and a lot of aroha and a lot of generosity, and I think today's decision reflects that. So as an old Waitakere councillor and the local councillor for the area, it gives me huge pleasure to see this happen. And thank you to my fellow Waitakere councillor, Councillor Clow. And I know if Councillor Linda Cooper, thank you, yes, I do remember her name after 25 years. If Councillor Linda Cooper was here, she would be expressing exactly the same sentiments. So thank you very much.
Right, and it does give me pleasure to move this, and I actually should mention the ex-mayor of Waitakere, Bob Harvey, who will be also particularly delighted with what we're about to do today. So we've got a mover and we have a seconder. I'll put that. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Against?
No.
You want that recorded, Councillor Lee? No, he doesn't want to record it, so that's fine. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Paul. Well done.
Everyone.
Right. Right, well, we just move to the next item, which is information report, which I'm happy to move. Seconded by Councillor Simpson. Any queries on that? Put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So that's fine. There are no extraordinary items to consider, so we'll just have the public excluded. I'll move the procedural motion. Sorry. Okay. So we note in the procedural motion that we've got Chris and Debbie